composer, sound thinker, thought collector, has been. Sometimes instead of saying thought collector, I would say tea collector, because at that time I was trying to break words into laughter onomatopoeias. So the word the, for example, became tee-hee. And the word thought became tee-ho, ug-tee.
Wow.
So, but I did actually find the thing that I was looking for. So I'm going to just give you an example of some of the things that I have described myself as soon as I get to that particular part. If I ever do, which maybe I won't. It's so long. It says electronically signed, he who has written Amir ul Kafirs, which as far as I know is bad Arabic for commander of the unfaithful or commander of the atheists. And then I go into something called ENT, perverse number theory, about which I have a whole book. I'm not going to read any of that. But here's an example of some tenuous beginnings of IJT, internal jumbling technique. The Biran of Hediz tiered a self till its björn was in a front sakta. Ik verreed the stille crud on its birad, and in its drie snack in the sitten of the bran and the bran akli. Now the idea of that is that words can have the beginning letter intact when they're spelled and the last letter intact, but the interior letters can be jumbled. And I started doing work in which the jumbling could result in two or more interpretations. So the text that I just read could be read as the brain of heads, tired and slept, while its brain was in a weird space. It craved the salty crud on its beard, and in its dairy sank in the stain of the bran and the bran light. But it doesn't have to be that way. But I'm going to skip over that now.
That was one of the most fascinating intros I've ever heard. Really?
But let's get into something else. So some of the other words that I use to describe myself are psychopath finder, jack of all trade, homonymphonemiac, I'm particularly fond of. That's a neologism that I coined. It basically means a person who gets off on making puns. Spleenius, which could be a person who's a genius at venting their spleen. Imp activist, which would be an activist who tries to make impact with impishness.
Fantastic.
Archivist, and head editor, or archivist. Somebody is an archivist of ear-related things. I forgot to do something that I said that I was going to do, which is just a little bit earlier. I said, what I should have said was,
That's true. That's so true. That's very true. I understand completely. Well, I think that gives them a pretty good idea of...
I think we need to get straight into the meat of those.
I think we do. I think we do. I think it's important to, say how we met you and ran into you.
True.
For those who listen, Art Rat Studios is a fantastic place in Roanoke, Virginia, for all things ridiculous. And tentatively was performing a...
No ums.
Mm-hmm.
No ums.
Oh, tentatively was performing a wonderful rendition of a creation of a video of everything ever done in decades of life. And it was really one of the craziest things I have ever seen, and felt like watching every incredible event that someone had experienced throughout an amazing life, projected on the wall with cerebral noises, and it was truly incredible. So that's how we met you, and I think we were wondering, how did you meet Ralph from Art Rat? just for some background.
I'm old friends with a guy named Brian Gentry, who's a biophysics professor at a local university, local, that is, to Roanoke. And Brian, or rather, and Brian and I are connected to each other through connections to anarchism, and I went again. And So Brian and I go back a long way. We first met through probably trading zines and things like that, and through Neoism, which is a cultural conspiracy that I've been intimately connected with.
Yes, that is something
I was trying to organize a tour of the southeast coast of the United States of Anarchy, and I couldn't really find any place that had any interest in even communicating with me at all until Brian tipped me to Ralph Eaton. And Ralph was very friendly, and Art Studios was very accommodating. So I love the place at first sight.
Yes.
And I've presented 3 things over the past year and a half, less than a year there now. The most recent one being the participation in Aftermath that you were referring to, which is a thing called Not So Still Life #1.
Yes.
Well, I think we should move on to our next question. So, next question is, what would you do, just hypothetical here, what would you do if one day you were taking a hike outdoors, and you saw a gnome, and you saw a gnome just like sitting there, and you looked at it, and it went, oh! And it ran away. You tried to chase it, but it went away. You never saw it again, and you never saw a gnome again for the rest of your life. Would you or would you not tell anyone about it?
I'm sure I'd tell people about it, and I'm not sure whether anyone would believe me, but I've actually had an experience similar to that.
Really?
But not with a gnome, with a gargoyle.
Really? Please tell us.
1979, and my girlfriend Cassandra and I were out and about, and we ran into 2 friends of ours who had just eaten some mushrooms. Now, I'm not talking about psilocybin or whatever. I'm talking about mushrooms that they had just found somewhere outside, which were really black and slimy. And they gave them to Cassandra and myself, these 2 friends of ours, one of whom was called Crazy Patty. And we were foolish enough to eat the things. And the result was that I got extremely violent stomach cramps, and I was laying in bed with Cassandra, and I would uncontrollably get into a 90-degree position at my waist. So in other words, I'd be laying down flat, and then I would go upright because of this agonizing stomach cramp.
Wow.
So eventually I went into the bathroom to try to vomit or whatever, somehow excrete this, what we'll call for simplicity's sake, poison from my system. And I looked on the top of the toilet tank, and there was a gargoyle sitting there.
Really? Like a full-size concrete gargoyle, or like?
No, more like a gargoyle that the concrete gargoyles might have been based on if people had visions as a result of being poisoned during the time when the gargoyle was conceived of.
Wow.
So I had never seen a gargoyle before. I don't really have a thing about gargoyles. In other words, it's not like I've been waiting my whole life to actually see a gargoyle or anything like that. And I couldn't vomit, et cetera, et cetera. And then later that day, I called poison control, and the only thing they were interested in was trying to find out who gave me the mushrooms. They really couldn't have cared less whether they would have helped me at all. I ended up in the hospital, and when I went to the hospital, they told me that I was either going to die in 3 days or I'd be fine.
Wow.
And, let's see. So I was fine. And it was really stupid of me to go to the hospital. But the reason why I went to the hospital was because the two people who gave Cassandra and myself the mushrooms ended up in the hospital. And then they told the doctors that they had given me the mushrooms, so the doctors called me and suggested that I would come in. Now, right now, I'm doing something that you can't see.
Oh.
And I'm going to test you to check whether you can figure out what it is that is happening to me right now. I'm going to continue talking to you. What does it sound like to you now?
I'm picking up a little bit more distance from the microphone. So
Yeah, that's not what it is, though.
well, yeah. Could that be a hint as to what it is?
No, I'm not going to tell you, because what's going to happen is that, and now I'm changing something about what I just did, and you can probably hear me better. I'm making a movie of this, and you'll eventually see the movie, and then you'll know what it is that I've just done.
Oh, this is fantastic.
Oh, wow. That's a mystery.
Now, I'm making a little bit of noise right now. Could you hear anything unusual?
I heard some, like, papers rustling, maybe?
Could you be building a paper airplane of sorts?
No, not paper.
Hmm.
I'm going to give you a even more flagrant sound sample. Closer to the phone.
It's definitely something crinkling. Could be a foil of sorts, or
A wrapper?
Velcro, perhaps?
Velcro. Is it Velcro?
No, it's not Velcro. Now I'm about to do something else that obviously you can't see. And this may be something that you'll be able to figure out, or it might not be. But you'll have to give me a minute or so here, because it's what I'm doing is not 100% easy. So I have to go through some motions that are a little difficult. Okay, now.
Oh, interesting. Could you be lighting a match?
No.
Not lighting a match.
You're sharpening a knife.
That's a little closer.
Sharpening a pencil?
No.
Grinding two stones together in hopes of fire.
Well, so far you're totally off, but I would be surprised if you could figure it out. That would be really, really remarkable of you if you could figure it out. So we'll just drop that for now, and you'll get the surprise when you get to check out the movie.
Well, this is incredibly exciting.
All right. That's something to look forward to.
As soon as the movie comes out, we'll know where to go to, and
Yeah.
we'll be in touch.
Doomsday fans,
So
stay tuned in.
I'd like to read you some mottos and slogans.
Oh, please.
Oh, of course.
Anything is anything. No more punching bag clowns. Neoism now and then. Kill normality before it kills you. The revenge of the impotent is to try to neuter the fertile. Before you decide against biting the hand that feeds you, ask why it has so much food in the first place. When money is God, the poor are human sacrifices. We are all unequal under the law, and that is its purpose. Musician, use thyself.
Okay.
Those were fantastic. Were those just like off the cuff, or is this like a source
I'm
of...
reading it off of my email signature again.
Oh,
My
yes.
email signature got to be so huge that none of the email programs that I use would allow it to be used because it's too big.
Oh, my gosh.
Let's see. I just said, now I'm trying to think of an animal sound to make that I haven't made already. I've already done.
I just said, bah.
Moo.
Moo.
I haven't gone. Whee!
We've yet to do a dog.
No, I think I already did dog.
Oh, I think you did. Yeah, that was good. That's a fantastic impression.
Thank you. I love impressions, don't you?
We do.
And of non-humans.
ZooPainterr actually has quite a fantastic impression. Would you like to show it?
Of what?
Yes,
Of the delightfully 2-foot tall leprechaun.
Oh yeah, I can do the leprechaun voice real quick.
We were discussing this earlier that it doesn't quite sound like the normal perception of a leprechaun is like a scary, like unpleasant creature, but like Grayson has a very specific leprechaun that only exists in Grayson world. I imagine it like a foot tall with like very large, adorable eyes.
Ah, well, but I take it you've actually never met the leprechaun.
No,
not yet.
We're working on it.
I mean, leprechauns are usually associated with green.
They are.
Yeah.
Green is usually associated with Ireland, and leprechauns are usually associated with Ireland.
True.
But it's interesting because people who have taken peyote claim that they've seen a little green creature. And that's
Really?
like a continent altogether.
Wow.
Oh. By the way, I would like to take this opportunity right now to remind everyone that, because I see some questions in the chat, if you want to ask these questions, I recommend you call in at 540-588-9107. That's 540-588-9107.
I have a question.
The easiest way to get your questions answered.
Something I have been really seriously wondering in scouring the depths of your website is where the ideas come from. And a lot of them feel extremely dreamlike to me. And I'm wondering what your dream life is like. Do you have much of a dream life? And if you do, is it a source of inspiration for things you do?
I love dreams. Dreams are extremely important to me, and it's funny that you'd mention that because upcoming I have an exhibit, the first exhibit of paintings that I've put on in 40 years.
Wow.
And the exhibit is being done in the name of the School of Negativity. And the 6th School of Negativity painting was inspired by a dream. And in a dream, I set up an easel with a canvas or poster board or whatever on it, and then I painted the shadow of the easel and the poster board instead of painting anything on the canvas or the poster board or whatever. I just painted its shadow on the space that the shadow was projected onto. So when I woke up, even though I didn't think that was a particularly astonishing idea or whatever, because I had dreamed about it, I felt that it was extremely important for me to make this painting. So I ended up making it in my house, and now I'm going to make a second realization of it at the gallery in Pittsburgh where the show is going to be, which is a place called Bottom Feeder. It's mostly a bookstore, but there's a small gallery in the back. And there's also a thing called the Annandale Dream Gazette, which was edited by Lynn Barentz, and it's a poet's blog for dreams. And I've posted, I think, at least 6 dream descriptions there, and I don't know what's happened to it because I don't think anything's been posted on it for at least the last 5 years, so it may be defunct. I don't know whether the people who are running it are still alive or whatever, but it's a very nice website if you like to read dream descriptions. I'm particularly proud of the dream descriptions that I've made.
That sounds incredible.
What did you say the name of the website was again?
It's called Annandale Dream Gazette, with Annandale spelled Annandale and Dream Gazette.
Interesting. Well, we actually have a call-in guest right now that wants to ask you a couple questions. So we're going to put them on the air. So, call-in guest, what questions do you have?
Hey.
Hello.
Hello, tentatively a convenience. I want to let you know that whenever I use the word tentatively in a sentence, which is relatively often, I immediately follow it with the words a convenience, because I think that is a funny reference that no one I ever talk to gets, but I think it is funny.
But thank you very much for doing that, because that's extremely in the spirit of why I chose this name in the first place. And in fact, I like to use language that can be inserted into a sentence in a way that makes sense if you know that the language is a proper noun or some such thing, but makes no sense whatsoever if you don't know that. So, for example, if you were to refer to me in a sentence and you were to write it all lowercase instead of using toggle case, which is the way that I ordinarily do it, but not the way that I originally did it, then you might have a sentence like, tentatively a convenience sat in the chair. Now, that would make no sense to anyone who would have no idea of who I am. So you're doing that exactly in a spirit that I appreciate, and I thank you for that from the bottom of my anatomical treasure box.
Wow.
Do you make an effort to use like crazy words when a normal word could do, but you would rather use a crazy word?
I don't think I make an effort to do it, but there are times when what you're referring to as crazy words, by which I think you mean obscure words or multisyllabic words, are just more fun. So, for example, if I had a choice between saying that person's malevolent or that person's mean, I might prefer to say malevolent because it carries more weight for me. It's not as basic as just saying mean.
Yeah,
There's something fun about using little words. I don't mean crazy words in a bad way necessarily, but I think...
I didn't think you did. I was just rephrasing it to put it in my own language. It was not meant to be critical of your word choice.
Yeah. That makes sense. Makes sense. Can I ask one more question?
Okay, one more question. We do have two other people in line, though.
Oh, okay. So my question is, I am Ella Burzens, from the Doomsday Land. I saw you at Art Rat, and one thing
I thought I recognized your voice.
One thing I'm very interested in is how you document things. It seems as if you document most things you experience, or at least you were doing so in that place. And when you showed your video, it also seemed like you were doing that. And I really relate to that because I document most of my life. And I wonder, like, if that's true, you do a lot of documentation. If so, like, what does that mean to you? Like, why do you do it? How do you do it? How do you organize your stuff? I'm very curious about that.
There are, of course, many reasons for doing it. And as I was explaining to the two hosts of this show, I have partially documented things because if I didn't, people wouldn't believe that I'd done them. So, for example, as far as I know, I'm the most prolific movie maker in the entire 128 years of movie making history. I've made 727 movies, 227 of which are feature length.
Wow.
But even when I tell people that now, I don't think anyone ever, or very few people ever believe me. Perhaps you folks do.
I do. I've seen them.
I can say, if you don't believe me, look online. I have over 600 of them online. So that's an aspect of documenting things. But another aspect of documenting things is that when you do that, you are creating a memory bank for yourself that you can refer back to 20, 30, 40 years later without having to just have it solely in your brain, which I think is very useful.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
So do you have like troves and troves of like hard drives, or like do you organize meticulously, or?
Yeah, I have. My house it's the kind of house that if an idiot were to come into, they would say, "Oh, you're a hoarder." But then I'd say, actually, I'm an information specialist. And in other words, my house is a giant archive, and I do have a huge amount of external hard drives. I think I've got something like 160 terabytes of external hard drive memory, which is filled almost completely, and I'm constantly having to add more terabytes on.
I understand that troubles. I feel like I will be in that position one day because I record constantly, so I respect it.
I think it's great to record constantly. I think
Thank you for calling.
for one thing, it gives you a huge amount of raw materials to mix and match with. But anyway, I understand that there are other people waiting to ask questions. So even though I'm enjoying talking with you, I'd better cut this conversation short and move on to the next one.
We're ready for the next caller.
Yeah. Well, we'll ask one question of ours, and then I'll get to the next caller in line. Because we do have a lot of questions prepared.
I've been curious about something. Unless you have something you'd like to ask.
No. Go ahead.
So, is there anything in your life that you feel like you know, but other people don't, and they should?
Well, that's an interesting question. I have hypercritical opinions about the medical industry.
Mm.
And almost every human being I know, with a very few exceptions, completely disagree with me about it and think that by even having these opinions, I'm a really, really horrible person, which has resulted in me being shunned and demonized over the past few years to an extreme. So I could say that some of my opinions about the medical industry are things that I think I know that other people should know but don't. Especially when I think that they are flagrantly in front of people's faces. But one of the main problems for me with people in general and with the society the way it exists today is that I think that most people's perceptions of reality are completely mediated, and that the mediation is a form of medication in the sense of it's a drug. So one of the stories that I tell from my own personal life, which is relevant to this, is that when I was 15 years old, which was a long time ago, we're talking about 1968, I had long hair, and which was not that common around the area where I lived at the time, and which made me a target for substantial abuse. And I was sitting at the breakfast table with my mom, who was totally a person who was brainwashed by the mass media, in particular the daily newspapers and the TV news. And she was reading an editorial in the daily newspaper, and it said that all long-haired males were homosexuals. And she said, that's right, they're all homosexuals. And I was about 5 feet away from her. I had long hair, and she had no reason to believe that I was gay, which I wasn't, and which I'm still not. I'm heterosexual, but that's in a sense neither here nor there. The thing was that rather than believe the evidence of her own senses, in other words, of her own son, who was only a few feet away from her, she chose to believe the editorial. And I think that that's really the way most people are. I think that most people are incapable of having opinions or perceptions that aren't channeled for them by the media, particularly the fear-mongering of the media.
I would agree.
Yeah, me too. We're gonna get to our next call-in guest.
We have a lot of call-in guests today.
This should be the last one. I think the other one, I tried calling them in, but they did not answer. So this is our next call-in guest. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Emma. I have two questions. Should I give them back to back or one after the other?
Why don't you do one at a time so that I have time to think about them individually rather than separately, or rather than together?
Okay. My first question is, what's your favorite fruit?
I'll say star fruit, and I should have, instead of saying I should have given an animal noise again, which I keep forgetting to do. So I'm going to make the sound of flapping wings.
Wow.
Nice.
That was beautiful.
A good pick. That's an underrated fruit, I think.
Yeah, the first time, and maybe the only time I ever ate it, was in Malaysia at an incredible buffet in a hotel that somebody else was paying for. So that's why I thought of it off the top of my head, because that experience was really wonderful for me.
I don't know if I've ever had a star fruit. I think this is an inspiration to try.
Okay, my second question is, do you have any familiarity with Planet X or Planet Nibiru?
Not that I can think of at the moment. Can you explain that for me?
Planet X is basically a theorized extra planet in the solar system, and people thought there was like a prophecy where people believed that they thought it was going to destroy the world.
Okay, and then what was the second one?
Oh, it's the same thing, just different names for it.
Oh, okay. Thank you. That's interesting.
Yep, no problem.
Well, thank you for calling in.
No problem.
All right.
I'm sure it's a fascinating topic.
Yeah. I have a very relevant question, actually. You see, two people that were in the studio just came to the window of the door, looked in, and then laughed, and then walked away. Why do you think they did that? What do you think they knew?
I, of course, can't really comment on that with any intelligence, given that I'm not there. I didn't see the people. I don't know whether you would consider them to be people who were friendly or unfriendly or whatever.
Yeah. They seem to be
overjoyed, really.
They seem to be just observing in joy, so
yeah.
I'm happy with that.
It wasn't a mean laugh. It was like it was a happy laugh.
Yeah, interesting.
Okay, well, I'm always happy for there to be happy laughs.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We actually have one more call-in guest. Call-in guest, please ask your question.
Hello, I've been listening to the radio show, and I'm enjoying it yet again this time. I just wanted to ask you, when you do your movies and other funny things you do, and people laugh, do you enjoy that reaction more than you would if they cried from how moved they were from watching you?
I generally prefer for people to be happy and to laugh. One of the reasons why I have a preference for absurdism, for example, as opposed to melodrama, is that I'd rather have people feel good after they've experienced something of mine than feel horrible. So, for example, the filmmaker Fassbinder generally left me feeling horrible whenever I witness any of his movies. Whereas, and again, I made a speech crush, so I should have made an animal sound. And I just did it again, so I don't even know what animal that's supposed to be, but it sounded good enough.
Vague beast.
So I prefer absurdism because I think that there are already so many miserable experiences in life that it's good to develop an ability to not let them destroy you by developing a sense of humor about as many things as possible. So, for example, I dated a girl who was legally blind. She was completely blind in one eye and partially blind in the other eye. And we made a movie called Neoist Guide Dog being the British equivalent of Seeing Eye Dog, in which I was her seeing eye dog, and we walked around London with me wearing a dog mask on a leash.
Wow.
And the thing about that was that Gail, the blind woman, really had a good sense of humor about everything. She hadn't been born blind. She'd gone blind as a result of diabetes. So something that would ordinarily be considered to be extremely miserable was something that we could turn into a joke by doing things like making this Neoist Guide Dog movie.
Wow.
Good answer.
Wow. That makes sense. I like that, and I like you. Thank you for doing everything that you do for this world.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
All right. Thank you so much to our calling guest.
That's one of our regulars.
It's true. Big fan of the ZANG TUMB TUMB hour.
Yes. All right. Moving right along. I would ask, if you had to describe neoism in one sound, no words, just a sound,
Mouth sound.
like a mouth sound, what would it be?
Wow.
Whoa.
See, that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. I wouldn't really describe neoism in that way, but I thought I get a laugh out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know. Figured we try.
I think that captured pretty well the spirit.
Yeah.
Let's see. What do we got? A question that we ask sometimes is whether you have an optimistic or pessimistic worldview. Do you think the world is destined for beauty and greatness, or do you think it's not going like such a good way?
I think it's holus bolus, which is a term that I think I may have initially read in James Joyce's Finnegan's Wake.
Mm.
In other words, it's everything all at once. And I am certainly hypercritical of society, the society that we live in, especially how it exists now, but I've been critical of it my entire life, and I sometimes think that it's more to my liking, and then other times think that it's less to my liking. I am, after all, a cognitive dissident. So there are always signs of things to be hopeful about and signs of things to be depressed about.
Mm-hmm.
Since I tend to be a manic depressive, but a manic depressive who has the type of self-control that's necessary in order to not have the lows be too low and not have the highs be too destructively delusional, I don't feel completely bad about the way things are now. A part of the problem for me personally is that I'm 70 years old, and I for 8 years I gave a speech at a local May Day parade, and the speeches were always very short, just a few minutes long. And then I don't think they wanted me to give speeches anymore, so I haven't given any for the past couple of parades. But when I think about what I would say if I were to give a speech again, I'd probably say something like, how many of you out there are against racism? And then, given the nature of the people in this parade, probably everyone would say, yeah, we're against racism. And I would say, how many of you are against sexism? And then, again, given the nature of the people in the parade, they would all be proclaiming their anti-sexism. And then I would say, okay, let's get real here. How many of you are against ageism? And then they would probably pause, and then they would probably pretend that they were against ageism, but the truth of the matter is that almost all of them are completely ageist. And I was ageist, too, when I was younger. I mean, I didn't want anything to do with old people. So, in fact, the old people that I knew were horrible people for me to be around because I found them so oppressive. So now here I am at 70 years old, which I never expected to live to, and I think that most people would prefer that I just go away and never come back again, which I will do eventually. So that's, to try to tie that back into your original question, for me personally, things are definitely not going to get any better. But for people in general, there's the whole thing that everybody has to go through, which is the bad stuff and the good stuff and everything in between. And probably most people that I know and like will end up not having too bad of an experience because there are plenty of ways of getting pleasure out of life that are available and not trumped on yet.
Well, I would say on that topic, like, meow, it really, to me, I don't tend to have a lot of, like, or bark strong interactions with, this is extremely hard, strong interactions with people that are people that are older. But you seeing your show at Aftermath, just, I think it is what it is that there's like a version of you from all points in your life that exists forever now, and anyone can see it at any time. And what people, I think, are afraid of talking to people that are older than them is like being unable to relate to the life that these people have had, and knowing that they've experienced so much and been through so much that a younger person could never understand. And what's fascinating about you is that you can see everything that you have done and really feel like you can relate to it, even though I, being an 18-year-old person that has not experienced much in life, I feel like I have so much I can learn from just everything that you have from all years of your life.
Well, that's interesting that you would bring that up, because, and I see that we've only got a minute left if we're sticking to the 45-minute interview.
It's not strict. It's not strict.
We can go over a little bit.
Okay. One of the things that I think about is that when a person gets to be 20 years old, they still have their 10-year-old self within them. When they get to be 30 years old, they still have their 10-year-old self and their 20-year-old self within them, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I can still remember things about being 10 years old that are important to me and that are formative things to who I am now.
Yeah.
And therefore, it's not like if I meet a person who's 18 years old like yourself, it's not like I can't relate to you, because I was 18 years old and my 18-year-old self is still within my 70-year-old self.
Yeah.
But then and when I was 18, I used to tell people that I was 85, or that I felt like I was 85, because I felt like I was extremely old before my time, which in a sense I probably was. So, but maybe for most people, if they're 18 and I'm only using that age because that's the age that you brought up, they don't have the 85-year-old person within them, or the 70-year-old, or the 60-year-old, or the 50-year-old, or the 40-year-old, and therefore it's almost impossible to identify with them. I just happen to be the type of person who felt like I was old ahead of my time, and then now that I'm old, I still feel like I still am also a young person. But, of course, one of the main things at play here is that I'm going to drop dead a lot sooner than most people who are much younger than me. And that's an important thing. I mean, that's something that helps frame the type of experience that a person can have in relation to other people.
Yeah, definitely. I'd say,
I mean, especially considering that I'm probably going to drop dead by being hit by lightning and a nuclear bomb, both at the same time.
Probably.
that is the most likely scenario.
Yeah, I mean, given that, you didn't die from the crazy mushroom thing,
Yeah.
Luck has been in your favor for a long time.
Yeah, luck has been in my favor for a long time, which is kind of amazing.
It is.
Yeah. Which, actually, that brings us to an interesting question that we wanted to ask. What is, you don't have to give, like, you don't have to give the most, or like the top answer for this, but what is a very near-death experience you've had that is significant to you?
I've had
any.
at least 2 near-death experiences.
Really?
When I was 48, about to turn 49, I started coughing, and I don't usually go to doctors or to hospitals or whatever, so I just thought that I would deal with it in my usual way, which was rest and drink water etc., which I think in general is an excellent way of taking good care of yourself. But in this case, the coughing was getting more and more violent. And when I say violent, I mean like I was trying to bring a solid object up from inside my body through my throat and not succeeding, but ripping my throat apart in the process.
Wow.
This time for about a month, and I didn't get better, whereas ordinarily I would get better if it were a flu or something like that within a week. So it was obviously a bad experience. And then I started having these throbbing pains in my abdomen, and I recognized the throbbing pains in my abdomen as being like what someone had described to me as appendicitis. So I realized that I probably had appendicitis, and eventually I realized that I also had pneumonia.
Wow.
So I had both of those things at the same time. I got to the point where I was laying on the floor of my house in a fetal position, and I could really only say about one word per breath. So my ex-girlfriend came over. She was very concerned, and she said, "We have to get to the emergency room right away." And I said, "Wait."
Wait.
Tomorrow. But it was much more extreme than what I'm giving you these short versions since we're on radio time here.
Yeah.
So I could only speak very, very slowly, and she said, "No, we can't wait until tomorrow. You have to go to the emergency room right now, or you're going to die." And she was right. I would have been dead within about 6 hours.
Whoa.
So we went to the emergency room, and I, as usual, didn't have any money, even though I was employed. And so I gave my name as Alfred Jarry, which is something that you'll probably appreciate because you probably know who Alfred Jarry is.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't, you should read Alfred Jarry, particularly The Exploits and Opinions of Dr. Faustral Pataphysician. And they said, the people at the hospital said, "Okay, yeah, you're really in bad shape. We have to operate on you right away." So they took my appendix out, and then they gave me this thing. It was a tube or something that I had to blow into, and the tube went to a cylinder that had a ball in it. And the idea was that by blowing into the tube, I would make the ball bounce up. Well, I couldn't even move the ball. And the reason why I couldn't even move the ball was because completely filled with fluid, and the other one was half filled with fluid. So I really was close to being dead. That's how bad the pneumonia was.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
So that was, and I just went, again. So I think I'm just going to resort to,
That is a good choice. It's a good one.
So, which even though I did that one already at least twice. So, and I had been intending to throw a little more variety in there, but whatever. So I did survive the experience, and they had stapled my appendix wound closed. One interesting thing that the doctor did was he told me that ordinarily they just stick a tube in and they suck it out. That's what they do these days.
Wow.
He said, "It's a good thing we didn't do that with you because your appendix was not in the right place."
Oh, wow. How does that even happen?
I don't know, but of course I wondered, and I asked, "Well, do women," or I think I looked up online to see whether women had the same appendix position as men, because I have a theory that I may have been born intersex and assigned to be a male, which is whatever, because I from Baltimore, and Dr. Money, who was one of the primary pioneers of gender assignment, was just getting his start at around the time that I was born. But I have no proof of that, so whatever. So I was just fishing to see whether maybe I had an appendix in the position that it would be for an intersex person rather than for a male. But that didn't pan out to teach me anything.
Mm.
But since I've started researching the medical industry more and more and just having opinions about the medical industry that are not friendly to it, I read that the appendix is a lymph node and that what it does is accumulate poisons to process them, accumulate toxins to process them. And that when you supposedly have appendicitis, it's because it's accumulated more toxins than it can deal with. Now that's probably medical heresy because the medical industry generally claims that the appendix and the tonsils are vestigial organs, whereas they're both lymph nodes. Whatever. I'm just throwing that out there right now because I think that's interesting.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
So that was one near-death experience, and the other one that I just had recently. In fact, I was in the midst of it when I went down to Aftermath. And let me know if I'm going on for too long because it's now 10:54. So
No, not at all.
If you stop, just tell me.
We'll probably just do one, maybe two questions after this, and then we'll wrap up.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is it okay if I finish this train of
Oh,
thought?
of course.
Sure,
We're very
sure.
interested.
Okay. So in the middle of May, I had a toothache, which was no surprise because my teeth are in pretty bad shape. And then the ache moved up into the ear above the tooth, which was also no surprise because if I had an infection, it would be expected that would happen. And then the ache went into about a third of my head, or whatever. It's hard to say exactly how much my head was, but on the same side. And the headaches started getting to be really, really extreme. So they were like waves of pain that were so intense that it was... I eventually resorted to saying that they were indescribable. That's how bad they were. I couldn't describe them as anything that I could relate to.
Mm-hmm.
So that went on for about 3.5 weeks. On a Sunday night, it was really, really just at a peak that was mind-boggling. And I was even talking to myself, not because I was losing my mind, but because I felt like it was a way of coping with the situation. So I was saying to myself, okay, enough pain. I can't take any more pain. You have to stop now, body. You have to stop. That's it. I can't take the pain anymore. And then the next night, Monday night, starting at 9 o'clock at night, the pain got even worse, and I've since been describing it as being like being shot in the head at point blank range, and then having my head reform 45 seconds later, and then being shot in the head again every 45 seconds for the next 8 hours.
Wow.
It was just incredible. So I was kept awake all night, and I finally fell asleep at 5 o'clock in the morning, which is how I know that it was 8 hours. And also the reason why I knew that it was every 45 seconds was because I timed it, because I'm that type of person, right? Of course I have to time it. So the next few days I still had the pains, but it was a little bit less, and I didn't have that kind of peak experience. And after about maybe 3 days later, I thought, that should have killed me. Whatever that was, it should have killed me. There's no way I could have survived that experience. And I was looking online to try to find out what it might have been, and I really couldn't find anything that satisfactorily described it. There are things called cluster headaches, if I remember correctly, that are supposedly even worse than migraines. I don't get migraines. I'm sure migraines are extremely bad, judging from the reports of friends of mine have happened. But then there's a thing called an aneurysm, which can occur anywhere, where I think that clogs up arteries or whatever it is, and then it can rupture. So So I thought it might have been a ruptured aneurysm, but it really didn't fit the description of that either. But in the case of a ruptured aneurysm, supposedly it either kills you 25% of the time, or kills you within 3 months, 50% of the time, or you're fine. So I appear to be in the fine category because not only did it not have any kind of crippling effect on me, which apparently often it does, in other words, there was no resultant paralysis or anything like that, but I actually felt better after the experience was over. Now, one of the reasons why I bring this up is because I was still in the throes of this thing. I was still having the headaches. It wasn't headaches plural. It was a constant headache that lasted for 7 weeks when I drove down to Aftermath. And I thought, wow, I can't do this. Are you out of your mind? I can't do this. I can't drive. I don't like driving long distance, and it's about a 6.5 hour drive from Pittsburgh to Roanoke. I thought, I can't do this. It's crazy to try to do this. But then I thought, I want to do this. I want to participate in this festival. I think it's an interesting place. There's bound to be interesting people there. I need to meet new people, et cetera, which, of course, includes Doomsday X3, which I think of as Doomsday times 3. Is it supposed to be X3 or times 3 or neither of those?
It's whichever you want.
Okay, fine. So I drove all the way down there. I made it okay. And then by Friday night, the 23rd of June, the headaches stopped, or the headache singular finally stopped. And I actually felt pretty good. Not like I had a lot of energy, but I felt like I had made the right decision to, as I've been thinking of it, to embrace life instead of thinking, all I need to do is just stay in bed forever, because I feel like that was the road to death. So I decided to not go to a doctor, to just let my body do whatever it was that it was doing, which apparently it was dealing with some severe thing going on in my head. I don't mean psychologically, I mean physically. And I just let it do it rather than go to the hospital, for example. I think that if I had gone to the hospital, I probably would have ended up deaf or blind or paralyzed or whatever, because I think that the hospitals generally just make things worse, which is part of my bad attitude towards the medical industry in general, which I don't really think is a bad attitude, because I think that what I'm saying is accurate. And I have plenty of basis for that, but I won't get into that right now. So I felt like I made the right decision, just let my body do whatever it was going to do. And I figured that if it killed me, well, it's okay, because I've led a long and really interesting life. And
it's not like
it's not like I would be on the brink of death and suddenly think, oh, I wish I had whatever, not worked as an accountant for 40 years or whatever. And because I haven't worked as an accountant for 40 years, I've traveled around the world, et cetera, et cetera. So that's my second near-death experience.
All right. Well, we're going to ask one last question, but before we do that, we want to let our fans know that we will be posting some videos of Tentatively a Convenience's work in the Doomsday X3 Discord, if you are a member of that, in case you're, after the interview, you're curious as to what this guy has actually made. Our last question comes from the viewer chat. And it's very similar to a question we actually had on our script. So I'll ask it in the way that we put it down and the way that the audience member put it down. So the way the audience member asked it was, are machines okay or are they scary? The way we asked it is, what are your feelings on technological development, specifically AI and AI art? And does this worry you? So you can answer either of those questions in any way you want.
That's something that I have opinions about. I use the term AU, which stands for artificial unintelligence. And the reason for referring to AU is because I think that artificial intelligence, especially algorithms, are dumbing people down to an incredible degree rather than being an aid to making us smarter. So I'm not against artificial intelligence. I'm not against technology in general. I use it all the time. We're using it right now, and I'm perfectly happy with the way that we're using it, et cetera. But I am definitely against letting artificial intelligence and algorithms in particular tell us what to do.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you an example about that in relation to YouTube. This is an example I bring up all the time. I posted a movie online called Peterson's Restaurant, and there was immediately a copyright violation complaint against it. And the copyright violation complaint said that I could not monetize the movie, which I had no intention of doing anyway, but that if I did monetize the movie, all of the money had to go to the people whose copyright I had ostensibly violated. Now, the claim was that I was using a funk song in the movie. There's no music in the movie at all. None. Nowhere. Not even in the background. None.
Wow.
The movie was made using an Arcane camera, which is a camera that records optical sound directly onto the film, but it wasn't working, so we only got the visuals. We didn't get the sound, or the sound was stored to be able to use. So we had to redo the soundtrack by doing voiceovers, and then I added a couple of sound effects, one of which was Big Ben tolling, and maybe the other one was crowd noise in a room or something like that.
Yeah.
But the accusation, the copyright violation accusation, specified that this particular song was at, whatever, we'll say 10 minutes into the movie. So I went to 10 minutes into the movie, and knowing the movie as I did anyway, I knew that there wasn't anything there, that there wasn't this song there, and there wasn't this song there. So I appealed the decision to YouTube, and I said, there's no music in here. You have to just go to the point where you're saying that the song is playing and listen to it. You'll hear that there's no music. The thing is that some lawyers had, or whatever big record publishing company or whatever, just have algorithms that search everything. And these algorithms are just looking for things that are, say, of a particular length and have particular dynamics range to them or whatever. And whatever was going on in the soundtrack of my movie fit their algorithms' criteria for this song, even though it had nothing whatsoever to do with the song. So they just took the algorithm report, accused me of copyright violation, and then YouTube was going to prevent me from being able to do anything with the movie, at least as far as monetizing it goes, even though I had no intention of doing that, based purely on the report of we'll call it a machine for simplicity's sake, but on the report of a machine that was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one of the things that goes on all the time in our society. Things are constantly being corrected, so to speak, by algorithms, which are completely incapable of making intelligent, informed decisions, regardless of whether they're supposedly artificial intelligence or not, about the things that they are making decisions about. And since most human beings are too lazy to be able to double check things or whatever, or even think about things in the first place, then they just accept the word of the algorithm, if you can say, if you can call it the word of the algorithm, and go with the algorithm's decision. So the result of that is that people become more and more stupid because instead of trying to understand things with their own brain, they use the pill version of it, which is what an algorithm. I mean, of course, human beings aren't going to be able to scan every movie that's on YouTube, et cetera. There aren't enough people to do that, even if they wanted to. So it's no wonder that they're using algorithms, but the thing is that the algorithms are wrong, and they are dumb, and they don't have understandings of things like puns, neologisms, etc., which I use all the time. So I made one movie in which I tried to demonstrate this. It's a movie called List 4N, which with the 4 being substituted for the letter E. And then I had a speech synthesis program online read this text, which it couldn't do because it was incapable of understanding that the number 4 was substituted for the letter E. So every time the number 4 was substituted in any word, and of course the letter E is the most common word in English, most common letter in English, so it's everywhere. Then of course the program would read it like list 4N instead of listen.
Oh,
and there were many other
yeah.
examples. What's that?
I got it. That was really cool.
So the thing is that I made that movie. I created that situation in order to just try to explain to people that a human being could look at the word LIST4N and immediately recognize it as listen. But an algorithm can't do that. And artificial intelligence, at least at the point that it's at right now, can't do that. I mean, maybe there's some that can, but whatever. The thing is that if there's something that if artificial intelligence could do that now, there's something else that it can't do because the human brain is infinitely more complex despite all of the claims that are being made for artificial intelligence and about the near future in which humans will just be nothing in contrast to artificial intelligence. But the thing is that if humans are going to be nothing in contrast to artificial intelligence, it's not because humans are not capable of more. It's because humans are so lazy that they let artificial intelligence reduce their mentality, dumb them down. Plus, I think it serves the purpose. It serves the purposes of oligarchies to have most people just be morons and consumers and very little else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the rant.
And what?
I said, I'm just ending my rant there.
Oh, then you get into brain chips where they're putting it in you, and that's the whole thing. We could go on forever.
But we're out of time for this segment. We must move on to our next thing, which is the radio play portion. It has been a pleasure having you on.
It has been amazing. Thank you.
It's been a great interview.
Thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it, and I really appreciate your inviting me, and I wish your performance group the best of luck because I really, really did enjoy that performance group.
Well,
so I guess I'll sign off now.
Yeah. All right.
But don't forget to make a movie of your entire program and send it to me.
Of course. We've been videoing this whole time.
We have.
I'm pointing to the camera now.
And we can't wait to figure out what secret activity was going on.
I think I'll get a laugh out of it.
We'll keep in contact. Yeah.
We will, for sure.
All right.
Okay, great.
See you soon.
All
Have
right.
a good night.
You too.
You too.
Pleasant dreams.
You as well.
As to you. All right. Listeners, get ready for the second half of the ZANG TUMB TUMB radio hour. Not more a half. We have about 20 minutes left. And we'll be joining us will be our special guest, PewDiePie. But wait. You're still listening to WXJM 88.7 FM, but this is still the ZANG TUMB TUMB radio hour. Almost over, but we have one final bit left.
Now, Grayson, that was a fantastic interview, but I've got something big in the books.
PewDiePie, right? I mean, that's the guest we're having on.
We're having him on, and I've been in contact with him, Grayson. I think we're gonna try for tonight.
Tonight? I mean, we have to get to Japan now. Then
we do have to get to Japan, but I think we can make it.
All right. Well, let's just get in my car, I guess.
I mean, we have about 20 minutes. I think we can get there in time.
Yeah. All right. We'll just get to Tokyo.
I mean, it's
quick.
PewDiePie. Like, we'll do anything to get there in time.
Okay. Yeah. Sure. Let's get to my car.
All right.
Just backing up. And all right. I think we're back. I hit the antenna, but I straightened it out.
Can we back on air?
Yeah, we're back on air, I think. We just gotta...
Grayson, you just hit the WXJM antenna. What is wrong with you?
And... Oh, my car is damaged.
Grayson.
It's leaking gas. Okay, we just gotta get to the bus station.
Why are you so bad at driving, Grayson?
Let's just drive to the bus station now.
Is your car gonna work?
Yeah, it's still working.
Okay.
Let's just get there. What's that noise?
Grayson, is there a fly in your car?
Let me just try to... I'll get it sooner or later. Any second now.
Just get the dang fly, Grayson.
I'm trying. Wait, what's that ahead? Oh, wait, okay.
God, this fly has to go.
I think I just crashed into the bus station.
Grayson. Into the bus station?
Yeah, we're at the bus station.
Well,
okay,
what are we gonna do now? You damaged all the buses. How are we supposed to get to the airport?
Let's just steal one.
Grayson, we can't just steal a bus.
I think we can.
All right,
let's
go.
Let's just there's keys in this one already. Let's just okay. Just gotta put the key in and then okay. All right, we're going right down 81. We'll be there in no time.
Are we gonna make it to PewDiePie? We only have like 15 minutes.
We can make it to Japan in 15 minutes.
I don't know, Grayson. I'm getting really worried.
Just some traffic.
Grayson, wait, where did Dead stop?
On I-81 too.
Oh my God!
Wait, can you get out of the car and look how long it is?
Yeah, sure. I'll be right back.
How long is it out there?
Oh, Grayson, I don't think we're gonna make it.
How long is the traffic?
Grayson, I can't even see. It goes for miles.
Oh, Archer.
Grayson,
I hate to say it, but I
think we
think
gotta get out and run.
I think we gotta run. All right, let's try to run to the airport.
Grayson, we only have 15 minutes.
15 minutes to get to Japan.
We're not gonna make it,
We're
Grayson.
gonna make it.
Oh my God. Grayson, I can't believe you hit the bus station. What is wrong with you?
Just don't worry about it. Just don't ask him.
You hit not only the bus station, but the antenna.
We're almost at the airport, Archer. I can see it just ahead.
Oh God, Grayson.
Okay, we're at the Roanoke Airport.
Oh, finally.
All right, let's try to find. Okay, let's do the thing. Okay,
let's get the security.
all right. Sorry. Excuse me, but this is an emergency coming through. We're about to be late for our flight.
I don't think these people understand. We have 15 minutes. Can you guys please move? Grayson, let's just walk through security.
Okay.
Are they gonna know?
They're not gonna know.
Let's just go. We don't have time. We don't have time for this.
Okay. Plane's boarding now. We gotta get on.
God. We're not gonna make it. We're not gonna make it.
Just get on.
Okay, I'm on.
Okay, welcome aboard, American Airlines. Just squeezing through here. Oh,
excuse me.
There's a guy in between us, between our seats.
I don't know if I really want to talk to him, Grayson.
Okay.
He seems really weird.
Okay, well, we'll just have to talk over him.
Grayson,
Sorry, sir. We're just.
Should I ask him a question?
Yeah, ask him a question.
He's really scaring me, Grayson.
Yeah. Just go ahead and ask him a question.
So, you ever been to Japan before?
You ever been to Japan before?
I don't know if you heard me. Grayson, the plane's starting to take off.
Sir?
Excuse me, sir. I think you might have headphones on. He's speaking French. Oh, Grayson. I'll see you at the end of the flight. I'm putting my headphones on.
Oh, we're there! It's no worry! We're in Japan now!
We're in Japan?
I mean, obviously, that's where our flight went.
All right.
Let's get out.
Well, that was a fast flight. I've never heard of a flight make it in 20 minutes.
This airport doesn't seem like Tokyo's airport.
Why is there English everywhere? Grayson, look at the city out there.
What city is that over there?
That does not look like Tokyo.
Something
oh my god,
wrong,
I need
sir?
to talk to the flight attendant.
Something wrong, sir?
Excuse me, this is an emergency.
Yes.
We're trying to get to Japan, but what city is that over there?
It's New York, sir. Something wrong, sir?
Yikes! I did it again!
We'll be fine. Oh no. PewDiePie's in Japan. And we're in New York. PewDiePie's in
Japan?
And we're in New York?
Let's go explore, Grayson!
Go explore!
Oh, look at the Empire State!
It's Times Square!
Oh, I've always wanted to see all the New York sights. This is just stunning.
Oh, man, look, it's the Rockefeller
Grayson,
Plaza.
let's go to the Statue of Liberty.
The Statue of Liberty just over there.
Oh, it's shining on the horizon.
Let's look at the Plaza Hotel.
Oh, my God.
Right now online.
Oh, my God, this room is beautiful, Grayson.
Yeah. Oh, let's dance around. Let's mess up all the seats.
And Grayson, can we stay here forever?
Yeah, I got my mom's credit card. It's going to pay for everything here.
Really?
That's how I got this room. And, this is just amazing.
Grayson, you know what I think we need to do? We need to get an authentic New York slice.
Let's go Sbarro Pizza. That sounds authentic.
That does. Let's go there.
Let's hit up Sbarro Pizza. Oh, man. Oh, wait, there's a concierge here. Just quiet the music. Sir, we're just about to get some Sbarro Pizza.
What's the matter, Mr. Hendricks? Store wouldn't take your stolen credit card.
Okay, we need to hightail back to the airport.
Run! Get back on the plane!
Wait. Let me put the music on. Okay, we're gonna get there.
We have 10 minutes, Grayson!
10 minutes to interview PewDiePie. 10 minutes.
Grayson, we're not gonna make it!
We're gonna make it. Okay.
Oh my God, we made it back to the plane.
Japan Airlines.
Is this going to Japan?
The flight attendant, is this going to Japan?
Well, yes, of course, sir.
All right, that's convenient. Just gotta settle down, prepare for the long flight over the Pacific. And we're there!
Wow! Airlines these days.
All right, well, let's just get out of this airport. Hopefully nobody gives us trouble over there. Look at that gentleman in the suit over there. He's approaching us. Sir, please don't take us to the hole. No,
Don't you know this is Yakuza territory?
Please don't put me in anything you do. Don't put me in the Yakuza hole.
No, we're just trying to get to Tokyo.
You're gonna be coming with me, you two.
Where are we going?
What are you going to do with us?
You're not going to put us in the hole, are you?
You're going in the hole.
No!
Guys, we're in the hole right now.
We're in the
They've
hole.
trapped us in the hole. Okay, well, guys, we really want to interview PewDiePie.
We have to do something. Can you guys help us?
The Yakuza Man, is there anything you would do to let us out?
Maybe if you give me a ransom of $500 million.
$500 million.
Please call in to 540-588-9107 right now.
The interview with PewDiePie is resting on this.
We need someone to negotiate with the Yakuza. Please call in right now.
Anyone, we're begging.
We'll take anyone.
Also, call 540-285-0012. Anyone, please. We need to get out of this hole. We're 9 minutes away from PewDiePie, Grayson.
We have mere minutes. Just please, if you're able. Oh, someone. Okay, negotiate with the Yakuza.
Okay, sir, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you give me to the Yakuza?
This is the Yakuza.
Yeah, this is Yakuza.
Okay, so I just want to let you know, okay,
Mm-hmm.
that I know PewDiePie, and I know he runs this town.
Yeah.
And if he finds out that you put his friends in the hole for this long, he's gonna have something to say about it.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know. Do you really want to be in that much danger? Really,
Yeah.
all I'm asking.
Well, listen here. PewDiePie is we own him, okay? I don't know if you realize that. And if you don't give us
Or
$500 million.
Please just give them the $500 million.
You're not going to see him
Are
or
you
anything
sure
ever again.
Please, just give it. We only have 8 minutes. Can you just give them the $900 million? Can you please agree to this?
Just give the $900 million.
I can wire it to you within like a couple days if you give me your PayPal.
That's acceptable. It's definitely acceptable.
All
A couple
right.
days is nothing.
All right.
Yeah, just give me your email. Like, let him go. I promise I'll send it to you. It'll get to you in like a couple days, but like you gotta just let these guys out first.
Thank you, listener. Thank you so much.
Okay. All right. That sounds good. Yep. You guys need directions?
Yeah,
All right.
where's PewDiePie's house?
Yeah, it's just down the road over there. It's right there. You
Thanks.
can see it from here.
Thanks.
Yep. Mhm.
Well, thank you for calling in, listener. Appreciate you getting us out of the Yakuza. Sucker. All right. Well, let's stroll up to PewDiePie's house.
We're almost late, Grayson.
All right. Well, let's just. Okay. Whew. PewDiePie. Okay. Let's knock on his door. Mr. PewDiePie. Mr. PewDiePie.
It's the ZANG TUMB TUMB radio hour.
Listen. Okay. We're so sorry. We were so late. Just listen. Our interview went long, and it was so hard to get here.
We've gone through such a journey to get here. We've been through.
We're almost out of time.
We went to New York
almost out
on
of time.
accident.
We're in New York.
barely have
Just
any time.
What do you have to say to our audience,
We
Mr.
want to hear at
PewDiePie?
least something from you, please.
How's it going?
You're listening to WXJM 88.7 Harrisonburg.
I guess it's something in my